Hi everyone, I'm Larissa. I'm going to be doing a yoga practice for anxiety. So if you ready, we can go ahead and get started. So I invite you all to join me in a seated position. I'm using a blanket underneath of me just to kind of elevate my hips a little bit. It makes it feel a little more comfortable for me. You can also choose to sit on your knees, put a block under you, a bolster or something under you, whatever makes you feel comfortable. And so I'll just invite you to pause here for a moment and just check in. Maybe do a little scan of your body, a scan of your breath. Just taking a second to really ground yourself and feel where you are right now. Letting go of everything that's happened today, everything that you might still need to do for the rest of the night before you can go to bed, and just take a moment to pause. While we are here, I'm going to invite you to use Chinmaya Mudra, which can help cultivate or create a sense of safety and security. So it looks kind of like this. You make a circle with your pointer finger and your thumb, and then kind of curl your other fingers under. So it just looks like a little circle. So you can do that on each hand if that's comfortable for you. You can place it wherever feels good. So for me, that's on my knees. If you wanted to hold them closer to your heart space, that's okay. If you wanted to hold them out, whatever feels right for you. Just taking a moment to pause here again, focusing on creating some feeling of safety, security. And just while you're here, start noticing your breath. Be curious. Doesn't matter what it looks like, or just paying attention, being curious. If at any point it feels like you want to let go of the mudra, you're welcome to, and just go back to your comfortable seat. When you feel like it's time to let go of that mudra, you can let go. Next, we'll be moving on to diaphragmatic breathing. So in order to do this, it can be helpful if we put one hand on our belly and then one hand on maybe over our heart, or just kind of in our chest space. And often what we do, especially when we feel anxious, is that we breathe shallow and we only breathe into this part of our body, into our chest or into our heart space. And that just kind of creates more anxiety because then our body is not getting the oxygen that it needs. So diaphragmatic breathing is kind of a way to really pay attention to and feel the breath as it moves in through your throat and through your chest and all the way down into your belly. So we're going to hold our hands in these places if that's comfortable, and begin to kind of breathe. And so when you breathe in, you might notice that your chest expands, your belly expands, and as you breathe out, you might notice a little bit of a collapse, right? So your belly might collapse, your upper body might collapse a bit too, and that's the exhale. So we want to take a breath in and move it from our throat through our chest space and then all the way down into our belly. So I'm going to take a few moments to kind of demonstrate what this looks like with you. And then while you continue on, if it feels comfortable to continue on with that breath, you can. Otherwise, just bring your breath back to its normal pace. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to chime these little bells every 4 or 5 seconds and kind of time them with your inhale and your exhale. So if you breathe in and then you hear the chime, then it's time to let the exhale. If you hear the chime again, then it's time to do the inhale. If that works for you, reminder that this is your practice, and so if it doesn't feel right, you can just pause at any time and go back to a regular, comfortable breathing. Okay? And here we go. So on the bell, you can start your inhale. When you're ready, just bring your breath back to a comfortable pace. Part of why I used the chimes was because a lot of times we have the tendency to start counting in our head, which is fine, but I just thought that would be a fun experiment to kind of see what it was like to just notice the sensation of our breath going into our throat and our heart into our belly without having to worry about counting too. All right, so when everyone is ready, I'm going to invite you to join me standing on the mat. If you have blankets or props or anything, just go ahead and move them out of the way so that they're not there. I'm going to pause and move the camera up a little bit so you can see me better. Okay, well, you can't see me perfect, but it was worth a try. So we are going to start next in 5-pointed star. So what that looks like is like we're making a giant star with our body. So we have our arms out, our feet a little bit more than hips width apart, and we're standing here being curious again, just noticing our breath, taking another scan of our body now that we're standing. And we're going to start to flow a little bit. So what that will look like is we'll move from our star and down into a goddess pose. So we'll bend our knees and lift our arms up like this. And then we'll do that on an exhale, and then we'll inhale and exhale. And we'll do that at your own pace. So just remember that my pace might look a lot different than your pace, and that's okay. Noticing the different sensations in your body as you move. When you're standing in star, is it a little easier than when you're bent over in goddess, right? When you're ready, you can relax your arms. Take a breath if that feels right. And then we're going to move into Warrior 2. So Warrior 2, you turn one of your feet out. Try to make sure you can see me in the camera. You turn one of your feet out, and the other one is back over here. When you're ready, we lift our arms up. So we kind of have one foot pointed towards one direction, and then the back foot might be pointed kind of perpendicular to that front foot. Or maybe it's kind of turned a little bit, kind of explore for your body what feels right. And then if it's comfortable, lift your arms into a T and maybe look over that front shoulder. We'll pause here, noticing our breath, noticing that we might be breathing shallow now that we're moving a little bit. Maybe bring back that diaphragmatic breathing, maybe even pause and move your hands. Feel how the pose might feel a little bit different when we do that too. And really take the moment to focus on our breath. If you ever need to come out and take a little break, that's okay. And then when you're ready, we're going to move into extended side angle. So we're going to keep our legs the same. Only difference is that we're leaning over that front leg and maybe reaching our arm up over over our heads. If that's not comfortable, sometimes that hurts my shoulders. You can kind of drape it back behind you. Noticing our breath here. Maybe even trying to direct some of our breath to where you feel the pose most. So what part of your body is feeling the most work in this position? And when you're ready, bringing it back up to center, straighten out your leg, wiggle them. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side because yoga is all about balance. Anxiety is all about finding that balance in life too. So we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side, pointing one foot kind of towards one side of the room, the back foot kind of perpendicular to that. And we'll raise our arms up in a T if that feels comfortable. And when you're ready, just take a moment to pause again and focus on our breathing here. And when you're ready, leaning back over that side with the arm overhead or back behind you or somewhere in between, whatever feels most comfortable. And if it feels okay, just remembering to try to focus on those deep diaphragmatic breaths where we're pushing our belly out and then sucking our belly back in as our muscles contract. And when you're ready, you can stand back up again. Shake out your legs. Next, we're going to move into tree pose. So that looks basically like we're just trying to sit into a chair, but there's not actually a chair there. And we're going to kind of flow with it and keeping in mind our breathing. Sometimes when we flow, it can kind of help us to remember to breathe versus when we're just sitting here stagnant in a pose. So when you're ready, you can move with me. We'll raise our arms up if that feels right and set our hips back like we're sitting in a chair. Again, my shoulders don't really like that move, so if you wanted to put your hands here, that's okay. Whatever might feel comfortable for you, so just explore. And then we're gonna come up. So we'll do our inhale when we're up here and our exhale when we sit. So remember, if that ever doesn't feel right for you, do it at your own pace. Chair pose is not one of my favorites, but I like to throw it in here for anxiety because it's a symbol for me of life is going to be tough. Sometimes I'm going to have to do things that I don't want to do or don't like to do, that don't feel comfortable, right? But yoga teaches me that I can do this. I can make it through the discomfort. When you're ready, you can pause. I'm feeling a little out of breath myself. But we can make it through that comfort or discomfort. So let's take a moment here to pause, find our breath again. Maybe reflect on any times that feel like you weren't in control or things didn't go as you wanted them to go. And maybe you handled it well or maybe you didn't handle it well. But just recognizing that we made it through those moments and we're still here and still pushing through. Next pose we're going to do is tree pose. So this one can be a little bit different for everybody. We're going to basically balance on one of our legs at a time. So you might balance by just bringing your heel to like your ankle. You might be able to lift it up onto your shin. You might be able to lift it up higher above your knee. You might want to hold on to a wall behind you. So take a second to figure out where you would like your leg today. No judgment about where that leg is at. And when you're ready, you can lift your arms up, course you can't see me, so I'll just bend down for a second. So kind of lift your arms up like you're a tree. Or if it feels more comfortable, kind of putting them down like this. Now that you know what arms kind of look like, and actually you can also put them kind of down like this too. So now that you know kind of what arms can look like, let's take a moment to balance here. Maybe looking around the room for a drishti. So a drishti is something that is unmoving, that we can look at, kind of direct our focus and attention to. For a little wobbly, that's okay. Shake it out. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So when you're ready, lift your other foot, remembering that our body is different on different sides. So your leg might be in a completely different space. You might feel super wobbly on this leg like I do. And that's okay. Things aren't always gonna be steady. Sometimes they're gonna be a little wobbly. But again, remembering to find our breath and find our drishti, our focus, can help to center us and make it so that we don't fall over in the pose even though we felt unbalanced. Or maybe we do fall, and that's okay too, but we just get back up. Okay, standing poses are done. So I invite you to sit down when you're ready. I'm gonna see if when I sit you can still see me a little bit, so we should be good. And since we just moved from standing to sitting, just take a moment, wiggle out anything that might be feeling uncomfortable from our movement. Pausing again to just find our breath, feel into our body. Do we feel heavy? Do we feel light? Do we feel tense? Just paying attention to how we feel. Next thing we're going to do is just kind of stretching. So a lot of the things that we were doing were about flowing, so kind of like moving back and forth, and also kind of balancing, doing things on different sides, which can be helpful with anxiety. So when you're ready, we're going to lift both of our arms up, and you're going to choose one side to twist to, and you're going to drop the opposite hand to the opposite knee and turn your spine a little bit. If your arm up in the air is comfortable, that's fine. If it's not, you can put it back behind you. And let's remember our diaphragmatic breathing here again, just paying attention to how it feels to have our breath move through our body when we're twisted. When you're ready, raising your arms, coming back to center, pausing, wailing out your back if you need to, lifting your arms up, turning, same as the other side, your arm in the air, your arm behind you. Just remember to always try to seek out the balance. Anxiety might have you focusing on one thing that you're struggling with, but there's often good stuff happening at the same time. Arms up, back to center, and drop your arms. Next thing we're going to do is alternate nostril breathing. So again, going along with that theme of kind of balancing both sides of our body, and how that can help with balancing anxiety, just kind of evening things out. So what you will do is you're going to inhale through your left nostril. You'll close your right nostril off with your thumb. Nope, hold on one second. Okay, got it. So we are going to close our right nostril with our thumb. We're going to breathe in through our left nostril. When that feels complete, you're going to close off your left nostril with your ring finger and exhale through your right nostril. Once you've exhaled through your right nostril, you're going to breathe in again. You're going to close off your right nostril, breathe out, through your left nostril. You're going to breathe in through your left nostril, close off that left nostril, breathe out through that right nostril. So you're alternating which side. You're breathing in, pausing, exhaling, and then closing off and doing it again. If that doesn't feel comfortable, that's okay. Just bring it back to that diaphragmatic breathing or some type of breathing that feels comfortable. So I'm going to give us a few minutes to kind of do this at our own pace. When the time feels right, you can bring your breathing back to normal. And we're going to get ready to relax. So instead of having us lay back and relax in what we would call Shavasana, what many people might be familiar with if they've done yoga, we're going to do a seated, supported pose. Sometimes with laying in Shavasana, when we have anxiety, our mind just might start racing. It just might be a little bit too overwhelming. But if we put our body into a little bit of a different position, it might allow us to relax a little bit better and not feel so vulnerable or anxious. So if you are sitting on a chair or something like that, you can kind of take a pillow and put it in front of you and lean over like that. I have my bed over here next to me, so I can also turn my body towards the bed and rest my head on the bed. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes. If it feels more comfortable to to lay in Shavasana, you're also welcome to do that, of course. Again, it's your practice, so do what feels right for you. But take a moment to get comfortable, get settled. Noticing how your body feels. Noticing any areas where you normally hold tension or anxiety in your body, and seeing if any of those areas have loosened at all, have lightened at all. And if they haven't yet, that's okay too. Maybe pay particular attention to that area when you're resting in your supported pose, and see if you can kind of direct some of your energy or your breath to that area and find some looseness or lightness. Now that you've all had a chance to get settled, I'm going to read today's meditation, which is called Coming Home to Embodied Presence. So we will start with a breathing practice to quiet your mind. Find your comfortable seat. Close your eyes or look at the ground in front of you and begin to breathe into your body. Start by taking deep breaths in and out. Begin to feel the shape change in your body as you breathe. Notice the expansion as you inhale and the contraction or the release when you exhale. Notice any sensations or emotions. As you breathe, visualize an image that represents returning home to your center and the core of who you truly are. This might be an image of a physical structure that represents home, or a cycle of breath to bring you back to center. You might visualize a person, a landscape, or a being. Visualize something or someone that represents coming home to the center and core of who you truly are. Notice everything you can about the image, the colors, the sounds, the scents, and the feelings that you experience when you return home. be with this image for a few moments. You are this image of home. You can return to your core and who you truly are at any time. This image came from you, and so it represents you. Once you feel ready to move out of this meditation, return to your breath. Return to the expansion and contraction, emotions and sensations. And as you feel ready, gently open your eyes or lift your gaze and reorient to the space around you. Notice any colors, sounds, or familiar sights in the space. Take a moment to remember that you are home. Home is within you, and it is always available to you. And the last thing that we'll just close with is the sound of Om. So most people know that Om is spelled O-M, but a lot of people don't realize that it actually has 3 syllables, kind of like an A, a U, and an M. And you can feel it in different parts of your body. So when we chant Om together, you might feel the ah in your belly, and then the U, the O part, in your chest, and maybe even in your throat, and then the part you'll feel more in your head and your skull. And chanting Om has been kind of shown to help reduce with anxiety, help the parasympathetic nervous system kind of come back into play. So Om can be very relaxing and also very energizing at the same time. So when you're ready, we'll chant Om together 3 times, and remembering to kind of draw out that 3 symbols and feel it in your belly, your chest, and then into your skull area. So we'll take an inhale, and on our exhale, we'll repeat Om together. Om. We'll do this 3 times. Om. Last one. Om. Thank you.